The reason that I wrote the book Chronicles of the Upheavals is right over my shoulder. The reason I wrote the book is that we're not really talking about science fiction, we're talking about right now, and what are we going to do about the conditions right now. The book is set 100 years in the future, from the year 2125, and it makes the assumption that humanity makes it. We make it through all of the disasters that are facing us right now and will face us in the future. Our ecological disasters, our financial disasters, our social cultural disasters, and our social, spiritual, and consciousness disasters. We make it through all of this, we make it past it, but not all of us make it. The book assumes that up to 3 billion human beings die over the next 100 years. These folks in the future decide to put together a history of how did we make it through to a society that works for all. How did we create the new systems and structures of that society? Part of the story is told by news clips that are scattered throughout the Chronicles. These stories give a picture of what's happening on the outside as the people on the inside of the Awakening Center are creating new systems and structures, a new society.
When the upheavals happened, they didn't happen all at once. They didn't happen to everyone evenly. They were not uniform in their results. Some effects were remote and isolated. Some systems' failures triggered others. Most were recurring. From the beginning, the goal of the awakening movement was not to ameliorate the effects of the mess. In the caterpillar, the systems and structures break down, a necessary step in the formation of the flying beauty of a butterfly. The goal was not to prevent what was happening. The goal was to create new systems and structures, ones that respond to the needs of the butterfly. In the face of major conflagrations, the awakening centers guarded their water supplies. This was not a lack of compassion. This was triage.
Several U.S. cities have major fires raging out of control, spread by a combination of unprecedented heat, social unrest, and failing municipal services. We don't know where to start. We don't know what's feeding it. It should have burned out by now. There's nothing left to burn. I don't know what to do, said Chief Ken Simmons of the fire-weary Kansas City Fire Department. We've got firefighters passing out from exhaustion. I haven't slept in 3 days. Our water is running low, and the fire still spreads. At some point, we're going to have to pull back, cut our losses. Kansas City is not the only urban area to experience runaway fires. In Rapid City, the local fire department has issued the first citywide evacuation since Hurricane Katrina nearly 3 decades ago. Chief William Smythe said, when those gas lines exploded, it was all over. There's nothing we can do besides get people out of the way. The asphalt streets are burning. I didn't know anything could get that hot. The streets melted one of our fire trucks. The only thing we can do is to get people out of the way. We don't even know how far we have to run. Things are not so grim in Richmond, Virginia. We've been blessed to have a river running through our city, said Chief Chuck Barker. We've got 3 fireboats going full blast, aimed at the downtown business district. Not a single ember is getting by us. But people on the streets are not so happy about that news. Yeah, they're protecting downtown, but they're letting whole neighborhoods burn. Look, the fire's only 10 blocks away, and we haven't seen a fire truck all day. Chief Barker was sober in his response. That's not an accident. We've had to make some hard choices here. We simply don't have the resources to fight every fire in every neighborhood. If we tried, we'd lose everything, including the places we tried to save. Some areas are just going to have to be sacrificed for the greater good. Said another resident, why come all the neighborhoods being sacrificed are black? Why come rich white folks ain't sacrificed?
In the interview, the chapter introduces two of the principal characters of the book. A young street kid is recruited, some would say even kidnapped, into an awakening center and starts to learn a new way of interacting with the world. Each of these transcripts begins with an introduction from the Culture Council in the year 2125. I want to say a word about language. Some of the language of the new recruits is rough. In the book, as they expand their mindfulness, their language becomes less rough and more mindful.
How to achieve a level of diversity in each center. For the early pioneers, the metavision of a world for all had to mean more than a world for all who show up. For every person invited into a center, there were 10,000 who were turned away. Some argued that the centers should select people who were already awakened. Others argued that no one was awakened to the holonic mind. Some argued in favor of admission by ability to pay, restricting the centers to a certain class of people. Still others argued that diversity was important to the holonic mind, that the selection committees should be looking for wild cards. The methodologies used for collection were unique and challenging.
What's wrong with the name I got?
There's nothing wrong with it. The reason that all novices are required to change their names is that your old name will remind you of where you come from, while your new name will remind you of where you're going.
I don't like this. I heard you people do brainwashing in here. What's that? Does it hurt?
At any point in time, you can get up, turn around, and walk out that door. We'll even drive you back to where we picked you up. We'll give you back the clothes you came in. There's no one here to stop you or try to keep you here. So far, all we've done is feed you good food and give you a clean bed to sleep in. If you don't like that, leave now.
Hey, sorry. Don't get me wrong, the food is cool and sleeping in a real bed, wow. I mean, bam, everybody's running. Then bam, some dude jumps me. Then bam, I'm out like a light. Then bam, I'm eating great food and sleeping in a real bed.
So, can I ask you some questions?
Yeah, okay. But my stomach kind of hurts.
Your stomach might hurt for a day or so. We put some medicine in your food that will cleanse you of some parasites.
What's a parasite?
Something that was growing in you that you don't want growing in your gut, like a bug.
I got bugs growing in me?
Not anymore. Now, I've got another 7 potential novices to interview today. Do you mind if I ask you some questions?
No, go ahead. Ask your questions. Just don't try to wash my brain.
I'll try not to. Now, how old are you?
Don't know. Maybe 11.
From your size, I'd guess closer to 9 or 10. Now, where were you born?
Don't know. Think someplace called Ontario?
Do you know where your parents are? What happened to your parents?
Don't know. They just disappeared when everything went fucked and the lights went out.
When did this happen?
Hey, is this going to take a long time? You asking a bunch of questions and me saying don't know?
No, not too long. I know things were crazy for you. I don't expect you to have answers, but this sheet says I have to ask all the questions. Now, do you remember the last time you saw your parents?
Don't know. Maybe I was 5 or 6.
Who took care of you?
My sister did for a while, then she disappeared too.
Do you know what happened to her?
I think some guys got her. She was about 15. Got with the wrong guys while swapping.
What do you mean by swapping?
You know, swapping. Trading for food.
Trading what?
What the fuck's your problem, lady? You brain dead? You know, swapping.
I know these questions may bring up bad memories for you. It's hard for me to ask them. And I do know how it is out there. But you've got to answer the questions out loud so that the recorder can hear you.
You know, trading sex for food, okay? She was real pretty, so we ate okay. One night she didn't come back.
How long ago was that? A year? 2 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Have you ever killed anyone?
What happens if I say yes? You kick me out?
No, we don't kick you out. We know how hard it is to survive out there. We will, however, keep a close eye on you to make sure you don't do anything like that in here.
Well, I tried to. I hurt some guys real bad. They tried to jump me, but they didn't know I had a knife. A couple of them probably died. At least I hope so. They kept saying they were going to eat me.
Have you ever eaten human flesh?
Nah. I saw some people eating a lot of meat, way more than a dog. I knew where it came from. I know it's wrong, but I was so hungry I tried to get some, but they ran me off. I ate plenty of dogs and rats. Lots of rats.
Let's change the subject. What do you know about this place?
The only thing I heard is that they feed you good here, and you have to work real hard, and then you get brainwashed.
Well, 2 out of 3 of those statements are correct. The Denver Awakening Center is not a charity. You ate well and you slept well, and we expect you to pay for it. And if you intend to eat and sleep today, you have to pay for that too.
Pay how? You know I don't have no money. You even gave me the clothes I'm wearing now. I have to pay for those too? I ain't no good for sex. Is this the part where you wash my brain?
Believe me, nobody wants you for sex, and nobody wants your stinky little brain either.
So, how I pay?
You pay through your work. You're required to work every day. In exchange, you get meals, a bed, and our protection.
What's the catch? Once I come in, I can't leave?
As I said before, you can leave whenever you want to. The door is right there. However, once you leave, you can't come back. This isn't a revolving door.
What's a revolving door?
Never mind. The work will be very hard, very demanding. We don't want you to just move your muscles. We want to exercise your brain and exercise your spirit too.
Exercise my brain. What's that mean? Is that the brainwashing?
You are really stuck on this brainwashing thing, aren't you? There is no brainwashing here. Exercising your brain means that all of the novices have to go to school.
School? I heard of that. My sister said that she went to school and learned things for a couple of years before they closed them down. She really liked school. That's how she taught me to read. I get to go to school?
Yes, you get to go to school.
How much I gotta pay for that?
We pay you to go to school.
Are you shitting me?
You see any shit around here?
Hey, you're all right.
Going to school isn't all that you'll do. You have to spend time working in the fields, working to keep the buildings clean and generating our electricity. The better you work, the harder you work, the more you'll earn. And when you earn enough, you can trade for perks.
What's that?
Well, if you have enough credits in your account, you can trade for a better bed, better and different food, and other things, like your own room, maybe your own house.
Why are you people doing all this?
The people who started all this knew that our society was going to shit, as you would say. Rather than trying to stop it, their goal was to siphon off the best and the brightest people who could actually use their minds and their hearts instead of just watching television. Our job is to help guide humanity past these troubles, past the upheavals, into a new society. You will be one of the agents creating a new society.
I sure wish I knew what the fuck you're talking about. But as long as I get to eat and go to school, it can't be bad.
Great attitude. You may go far. Now, about that name, let's see. You think you're from the Ontario region. Your K class.
What's that mean, K class?
It means you didn't come here voluntarily. You were picked up in one of our sweeps.
You mean those guys that jumped me? If I had known where they were taking me here, I would have jumped into their net. You know, the word on the streets is that you people eat kids in here. That's why nobody wants to volunteer to come here. They say you eat them because nobody is ever seen again. That's why we run when we see the jump trucks.
Well, do you want to leave here and tell them the truth, knowing that you can't come back?
Fuck no. I don't give a fuck what they believe. If everything turns out the way you say, those guys jumping me is the best thing ever.
You know, you'll find we really don't like cursing around here. You're expected to be mindful of what you say and how you say it. Okay. From Ontario, K class and 0 criteria.
What's that mean, 0 criteria?
It simply means that you have 0 presenting issues. You're not sick. You don't have communicable diseases. You're not significantly mentally disturbed. You're not physically impaired. You don't have a negative attitude or a history of acute violence. You don't appear traumatized. In a world where normal doesn't mean anything anymore, you're pretty close to normal.
Okay, I guess.
So, let me finish. Ontario, K0. I think we'll call you Unco. Now, you'll be in a dormitory with the other boys.
Hey, hold on, lady. I ain't no boy. I've seen more shit than you could ever dream of. I'm a man, and if those fuckers in that dormitory try to punk me, they're gonna find out the hard way.
I think you'll find here that it takes more than seeing shit to make you a man. Everyone has seen shit. We have special dormitories for young people who have been so traumatized from seeing shit that they may never be able to rejoin human society. We're not sure we can ever let them out again. But if being a man is so important to you, that's what we'll call you. You'll be called Novice Man Uncle. Now, if you don't mind, Novice 24 is waiting for her interview.
No problem. Sorry I went off on you.
Oh, one last thing. We know that you're carrying a knife.
Hey, wait a minute.
Please, don't bother trying to deny it. We know it's made of metal, about 5 inches long, and taped to your inner thigh.
How the fuck?
Stop. Try to listen without making your mouth move. Around here, just assume that we know everything. Now, we will let you hold on to your knife for 3 days. That will give you enough time to see that there's no reason to have a knife around here. Within 3 days, I expect you to bring that knife to me. If you don't, both you and your knife will be sent outside.
Okay.
I'm not asking for your okay. This will happen, whether you agree or not. Now, you may leave.
One thing. If I decide to split, I get my knife back?
If you return outside, it will be with all your belongings, including your clothes.
Okay. You're just holding it, see?
You're surprising. I think you might go far. Just wait while I write you a receipt.
What's that?
Oh, never mind. Just more paperwork. You really have potential. Now, please report to your dormitory.
That's the place with all the beds? Cool.
Both Democratic and Republican candidates for the upcoming congressional seat ended in bloodshed last night as a fight that started in the convention center spilled out into the streets. One person near the scene remarked, "Neither side has a clue what's going on out here. They're talking about taxes and immigration when people are starving in the streets." Candidates were admitted and released from Mercy Hospital, treated for cuts and bruises from the altercation. Others were not so fortunate. Police reported 7 deaths and 25 admitted to the hospital with life-threatening conditions. Police arrested 43 people on a variety of charges and used tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowd, which ranged as high as several thousand people. Fiercest fighting took place in the area near the campaign headquarters of both parties. Both parties have asked for additional security to cover the upcoming debates. The police chief reckons that we can't let a few hotheads disrupt our democratic process. In the future, we may rely more on virtual debates and less on just throwing the doors open for anybody to show up. the police chief recommended.
The awakening centers are not without problems. The problems are addressed within the values of the new society: inclusivity, nonviolence, consciousness, and awakening.
For the record, you know that I am not a disciplinarian. You asked for me in this matter specifically.
Yeah, you get me better than these other pukes.
I'm going to act like I did not hear that, or you'd be looking at 3 counts instead of just 2.
Shit, I can't do anything right around here.
Or maybe 4. You know how we feel about cursing, but it's not so bad. Everybody has discipline problems at first. You're actually lucky that you only have 2.
Funny, I don't feel lucky.
Let's take a look at what's in your folder. Looks like you have 1 count of refusing to work and another count of fighting in the dormitory.
I get to explain my side?
Yes, of course. But don't spend a lot of time on this. The likelihood that you're in the wrong is really high.
I mean, can I get a lawyer or something before you kick me out? Don't I get a judge?
No one's going to kick you out. These are considered minor offenses. We just want to get you adjusted before they turn into major ones.
Oh, okay. But what do I do? I mean, I don't want no beating.
So it's gone from brainwashing to beating. It's okay. You're not going to get kicked out, and no one here is beating anybody else. Now, for the first count, it seems as though you refused your job assignment of cleaning toilets.
Fuck yeah. I don't know what they think I am. I ain't cleaning nobody's shit.
Novice man Uncle, you will learn to stop using foul language in the presence of a monk or master, and you will learn to modulate the tone of your voice in our presence.
Sorry. What's modulate mean?
It means lower your voice and try thinking before you make your mouth move.
Okay, but I ain't cleaning no toilets.
Well, you don't have to. And you're about to get a lesson in inclusive economics.
How come I get the feeling I'm not gonna like this?
Now, if you do all your work and attend all your classes, at the end of a week, you will earn 200 credits. That's what you earned last week. And to pay for your food, your bed, your clothes, the laundry, the electricity, the water, that will cost you about 150 credits. So at the end of the week, you will have in your account 50 credits. Are you following me?
Yeah, I get it. It's like the swapping we would do out on the streets, but we didn't call it credits. Sometimes the swap wasn't even, so you built up a count.
Same thing here. You have 50 credits in your account. Now, when you refuse to do a job, you don't get the credits from that work. In this case, the 50 credits assigned to doing latrine duty. So, to get that work done, the work that you refuse to do, we have to hire someone else, one of the other novices or monks, to do your job. And because the toilet duty is so unpopular, we have to pay someone 100 credits to cover your work. Now, guess where that 100 credits comes from?
Shit, from my account?
Exactly. You're pretty quick. Your toilet duty is 6 hours a week, but to make up for that 100 credit deficit in your account, it will take you over 20 hours. Is it worth that much to you?
But if I don't have that much in my account, what happens then?
Small deficits iron themselves out, but you're not allowed to run a big deficit. If you don't have a positive credit account or a way to make it positive, you leave. You can't afford to live here. But I want you to be clear about this. We are not kicking you out. It is your attitude that is kicking you out.
But I see folks down in the toilets, they're always cleaning up. Isn't cleaning toilets their job? Aren't they hired to do that? Why do I have to do it if it's their job?
No, they are just like you. They have their assigned time to clean toilets, and then they volunteer for extra time because they're trying to build their credit account.
Why? Ain't shit to buy here. Oops, excuse the language.
Most of those doing the extra duty are trying to mount search and rescue operations.
What's that?
Let's say that you could locate your sister. Would you want her to be in here or out in the streets?
You can find my sister?
Sit down. Thank you. Yes, we can try to find her, but it would be very expensive. Over 1,000 credits just to find her. If she wanted to go, but was being held against her will, another 5 to 10,000 credits or more. And if you wanted her taken involuntarily, that could go up to 100,000 credits. That's a lot of toilet scrubbing. But would your sister be worth it?
If you folks can find my sister, I'll scrub every toilet in this place every day. How do I sign up?
It starts with patience. Sit down. First, we've got to deal with this second count, assuming, of course, that you are now willing to scrub toilets.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Oh, sorry.
Now, what was this fight about?
Some of them pukes, some of the other novices, they think they're better than the rest of us. They call us names. They call the ones that got jumped here kidnaps and criminals and cannibals. And when the monks are around, they refer to us as kids for kidnaps. So it looks like we're fighting for nothing. They call themselves volunteers or vols.
Yes, we are aware of this problem. We're trying to find ways of solving it.
Hey, just turn your backs for a few minutes. I'll solve it for you.
Violence solves nothing. Aren't you learning that in your classes? There are 3 ways a young person becomes a novice. Some, like you, as you put it, are jumped. We call it collected, brought in involuntarily. One of our agents close to the streets sees your potential and alerts us. We are looking for a certain type of temperament, someone who will benefit from our brand of discipline, direction, and devotion. Some are volunteers. Thousands show up at the gates trying to get in. Thousands of parents try to give us or even sell us their children. They want what they can no longer supply, a decent life for their children. Some of them we let in, about 1 out of 1,000. We admit as many as we can sustainably take and catch hell because we don't take more. Some of the parents of the voluntaries don't want us to take any collecteds. That's why we spread the rumor that we eat children or brainwash them to try to cut down on the folks who come to our door. Incidentally, once you give us her name and description, if your sister showed up at our door or the door of any center, she would be immediately admitted, as long as you want her here and as long as your account is positive. You would be guaranteeing her. And some gain admission by paying a very hefty tuition. These are the children of rich families who send their offspring to us for protection, for education, and for discipline. The families of the tuition children pay 3 times what they cost us. In effect, they pay for both the volunteers and you collecteds. Because these are old families that still have money, they feel that they are better than the rest of you and more privileged. These elites have formed a temporary alliance with the voluntaries, but that will end once they think they've got the involuntaries out of the way.
Why don't you just kick out these elite pukes?
Please, language. We don't kick them out because, frankly, we need the money. These centers are constantly expanding, constantly taking in more novices, trying to rescue people from the sheltered remnants of the old society. The resources have to come from somewhere. You will notice that none of the elites ever get latrine duty. They pay an exorbitant fee, a lot of money, to not have to do such things. And we let them pay their way out because we need the money. We really hope it won't be like that for long.
Okay, so these elite pukes, these elite guys get to walk all over us because you need money, right?
We are really trying to do something about that. We really are. This place isn't perfect and we don't have all the answers. Man, Uncle, I would really encourage you to not react when they taunt you. And if you could encourage the other novices who were collected, I would really appreciate it. Give us some time to work this out, maybe a few months. This place works well enough, but we're constantly trying to improve. Things take time.
Well, okay. But if I'm doing this for you, what you going to do for me?
Novice, we don't do deals. You don't understand now. But what I'm asking is for you, not for me. And based on this conversation, I will recommend that the refusal of work charge be dropped and the fighting count go on your record but be suspended pending no other incidents of fighting.
Okay, so we cool?
Try saying it this way. Are my charges dismissed, sister?
How come you my sister, but you treat me like my mother?
Are you just trying to get on my nerves?
No, I just don't understand most of this shit, this stuff. It's like I landed on a different planet.
I apologize. I sometimes do forget how different our environment is and that you've only been here for a week.
Hey, you apologizing to me? Cool. That mean I can bring charges against you? We get to swap some seats?
Not in any of your pathetic dreams. It's only when you become a monk that you'll learn how many rights you novices don't have. This place runs as a democracy, but not for novices.
Hey, lady. Hey, sister. I don't know what democracy means, but as long as you keep the food and the beds coming, I don't care.
Fair enough. Now, you are dismissed. Time for your next class.
Food, bed, and school, and toilets to clean. Life don't get no better.
And, Novice Man Uncle, you have to pay for my time in this disciplinary hearing, 50 credits. It will certainly be in your best interest not to violate the rules again.
I got to pay? Shit. Sorry.
In the face of multiple crises stretching America's urban infrastructure to the breaking point, many cities have seen a growth of emergency encampments within their borders. These so-called FEMA cities are places where people can get food, shelter, and basic services. Some of the temporary cities have been set up in vacant stadiums, and some have been tent cities, but FEMA is running short of tents and everything else. We're prepared for hurricanes, tornadoes, or earthquakes. We're not prepared for this, said Sergio Hernandez, Regional Director for FEMA. Everything's gone wrong, and it's all gone wrong at once. We can't feed and house hundreds of thousands of people indefinitely. In a strange turn of events, the recent bankruptcy of the NBA has actually helped and been a blessing of sorts for FEMA. The large buildings that were vacant in most cities have now been used as temporary shelters and storage facilities for food and equipment, just until America and the NBA are back on their feet, said Regional Director Hernandez.
Overt behavior, like fighting or cursing, is difficult enough to correct. But how do you correct for more subtle behaviors? And how do you do it so that the student really learns the lesson? Hey man, you don't have one of those observers. Before you speak to me, you will bow to me. Oh yeah, I forget. So why not you get one of those creepy observers? You don't rate? Before you speak to me, you will sit in silence and wait for me to speak first. Damn. You should know, Novice Man Unco, that I usually do not waste my time sitting with novices. However, several of your monks have asked me to take a look at you, which is why you're here. So, Novice Man Unco, I believe you had a question. Hey, I forgot by now, which means that your question was not important to you. However, your question was important to me, so I will remind you and then answer it. You were inquiring about why I still use a digital recorder and not use the services of one of our observers. Yeah, that was it. I don't use the observers because I don't think that is a respectful use of human consciousness. I also don't approve of the techniques they use to enhance the memory capacities of the observers. Oh yeah? What they do? Jack them up with drugs? Do you really care about the answer? Or are you just talking because you haven't learned the discipline of keeping one's mouth shut? Hey, you guys, you monks, are always telling us to be curious and creative. I'm just trying to learn. Are you trying to learn right now? Do you really want to know how observers are enhanced? Yeah, of course. Well, transfer 10 credits to my account and I will tell you. 10 credits? Why should I pay? Ain't isn't learning supposed to be free? How come you're profiting from my learning? Fair enough. I should not profit from your learning. Instead of transferring the 10 credits to me, I want you to transfer 10 credits to that chipmunk outside my window. What? Are you brain dead? That chipmunk don't have no account. The more excited you get, the worse your language gets. Do not forget that I am a master. Please repeat what you said. Sorry for saying you're brain dead, but that chipmunk doesn't have an account, so I can't transfer any credits to him. To her, actually. Her name is Roberta, and she has an account balance larger than yours is right now. What? Why does a chipmunk need an account balance? What does it do with the credits? And that question will be our lesson for today. You know, of all the weirdos here at Weirdo Academy, you really take the cake. I really want to find out the stuff that you're smoking. My smoking habits will be the subject of another day. Right now, we're talking about Roberta's account balance. Why does she need one? She doesn't. She's a fucking, excuse me, she's an animal. She eats nuts, climbs trees, and gets humped regularly, probably in that order. She don't need my 10 credits to do any of that. True. So why does she have one? Because you guys are weirdos. Do you really think that's an answer I will accept? I give up. I don't know. Why do you check your account balance 3 or 4 times a day? What? How do you know that? One day you will figure out how we know everything. Right now, just answer the question. I just want to know that no one's cheating me out of credits. Have you found any cheating? No. Speak up. Sit up straight. No, sir. You've been here 6 weeks. Why do you still check every day, several times a day? Is there something wrong with checking? There's nothing wrong with checking your balance. I'm not here to talk about your account balance. I'm here to help you find out who you are. I think you're discovering something about yourself. I feel funny inside. Can we talk later? We will talk now. Let's try to bring that funny feeling from inside to outside. Since you check your balance so often, what do you know about your totals? They keep going up. Have they ever gone down? No. If you work and go to school, your totals go up. Not by a lot, but by the end of the week, you have more credits than you started with. After we deduct your food, your clothes, your bed, all that extra ice cream you eat during your meals, you still have more at the end of the week than you did before. Didn't we promise you that on the first day you arrived here? Yes. You will speak up. Have we kept our promise? Yes, sir. Now, how often do you think Roberta checks her account balance? I get it. Please answer me. She doesn't check it because she doesn't have to check it. She gets fed whether she has a high or a low balance. Are you planning on leaving the center? What? No. I don't have any plans on leaving. Good. We would miss you. I would miss you. But frequent balance checks is a sign of someone about to jump the fence. So, if you're not a fence jumper, why do you do it? Okay, I'll try to check less. That doesn't answer my question. I want to know who you are. I want to know the kind of person you are. I don't want you walking around here like a zombie, reacting blindly, unconsciously, like the people on the outside do. Why do you keep checking your balances? I don't know. That, actually, is a good answer. Good enough for right now, anyway. You have a new assignment. You are still free to check your balance as many times a day as you like, but you must check it at least twice a day, every morning and every evening. When you check it, I want you to do these things. Number 1, Before you check, you will meditate for 5 minutes on my question. Why are you checking? Write down any answers that come to you. You will check Roberta's balance first, then yours. You will write down both of the balances, yours and Roberta's. You will find Roberta and tell her what her balance is every time you check yours. Understand? Wow. Man, this is really heavy. And once I give you Roberta's account number, there will be nothing to stop you from transferring her balance to you. You will have the power to steal from her. Steal from that. It gets weirder by the minute. Wow. You are doing something very important. You are revealing yourself to yourself. Yeah, and to a fucking squirrel. She's a chipmunk. Chronicles is different. It's a different way of looking at science fiction. Most science fiction that's being written now is highly dystopian. It's all about apocalypse. Or it makes the assumption that humanity makes it, but it doesn't tell us how it makes it. So this work is really about forecasting, but it's also throughcasting. How do we get through our situation today into the future that we would want? The goal is not to ignore our problems, but to move through them and move into a world that actually works for all. The reason for doing this video, this sight reading of Chronicles of the Upheavals, is to help you get a feel or a flavor for the book. It is not acting. The characters are reading different parts in order to give you a sense of what the characters' voices would be and what they would sound like. This is to help you get interested in the book and help you to get interested in the issues that it's raising. I received some criticism of Chronicles that it was too negative, that the dystopian part of it was too dystopian. The notion of 3 billion human beings dying was too much for one of my readers. I would invite you to look over my shoulder. I'm not talking about the future, I'm talking about the now. What we're talking about is a future apocalypse, but we're also talking about a contemporary apocalypse. We're talking about something that we have the ability to address right now because we can see it right now. We can stick our head in the sand, we can act like it's not there, or we can try to alleviate the problems for the handful of people who have pitched their tents over there, or we can recognize that we need a new society for all of us, and that society can work for all, and that we have the intelligence, we also have the will, the drive, and the vision to create that.